Well, this is a horrible reaction from the left, but of course it's typical. I mean, we've seen that the Democrats, when they don't like the outcome that they prefer, then the rule of law goes out the window. So they only pretend to be in favor of the U.S. Constitution or the Supreme Court majority when it benefits them.
Joining us now is a pro-life lawyer who has suffered the slings and arrows for defending the president who appointed 3 of those conservative justices. A lawyer who, in addition to her pro-life stance, continues to believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election and should be in the White House today. Jenna Ellis, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you too, Doug. Thank you for having me.
I just was remarking to you before we were rolling tape here that you appear to be a lightning rod for criticism. And it's not just from progressives, from the left. You've also severed ties with the Republican National Committee.
Yeah, you know, I have always endeavored in my career because, of course, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is my first and foremost audience. And so speaking truth is always what I will endeavor to do. But as an attorney, my obligation is to the United States Constitution, not to any political party. And so even though there are things that are controversial on both sides, as a lawyer and as someone who is a constitutionalist and a conservative, I'm always going to speak the truth and turn people to remembering the principles of our American founding and the reason that we are conserving the U.S. Constitution over and above politics.
Questioning the outcome of the 2020 election has gained new steam with the results of and the release of this movie, 2,000 Mules. Have you seen the movie?
I did. I was actually with President Trump and Dinesh D'Souza and my fellow Salem media hosts. I host the Jenna Ellis show on Salem Podcast Network. And so I was there last week for the red carpet premiere. It's an excellent movie. I encourage everyone to go and watch that. And I would challenge you to keep an open mind and just ask yourself this question. When you look at the evidence that's presented in this film, is there any other logical explanation other than this type of ballot trafficking that Dinesh D'Souza very clearly shows in this film through also the True the Vote? These are the other organizers who have this geo-tracking data that show that there were these not just ballot harvesters, but ballot traffickers that went from Dropbox to Dropbox with multiple ballots. And you can see the evidence for yourself. You can draw your own conclusions. But anyone who's concerned about free and fair elections, I believe it's incumbent upon you to review this evidence, look at this film, and then decide for yourself what you think.
The lasting legacy of the Trump administration, of which you were a part, is in all likelihood the Supreme Court. And we've seen that come to fruition with the draft opinion written by Justice Alito. And we've seen the ramifications of that draft opinion now. Just over this weekend, we're seeing protests outside the homes of conservative Supreme Court justice. We saw Justice Alito cancel a speaking engagement. We've seen a firebombing at an anti-abortion facility in Wisconsin, I believe it was. It goes on, and I can imagine this is probably only going to mount as the summer progresses. What are your views of all this going on?
Well, this is a horrible reaction from the left, but of course it's typical. I mean, we've seen that the Democrats, when they don't like the outcome that they prefer, then the rule of law goes out the window. So they only pretend to be in favor of the U.S. Constitution or the Supreme Court majority when it benefits them. They don't hold themselves to accountability to the rule of law. And so this leak is egregious. It is unprecedented in the history of the U.S. Supreme Court for it to be this early and a draft opinion. And so I think that Chief Justice Roberts was very wise to issue the statement that he did to say that the Supreme Court is not going to be intimidated by politics or by the court of public opinion, nor should they be. But the substance of this draft is incredible. And I think for those of us who have advocated not just for the U.S. Constitution, but also pro-life, can truly celebrate this opinion when it comes out, hopefully as the majority opinion. Because what Justice Alito did here in this draft was not just advocate for pro-life as a position or as something that needs to be held on the merits, but really he went back to the U.S. Constitution and said that we have turned to federalize so many issues that constitutionally are given to the states. We have essentially in the states 50 different laboratories of democracy. And for these types of questions like abortion restrictions, like same-sex marriage, for example, to go through the states and truly have state and local leadership be held held accountable to the people. That's where these types of issues belong, not in the Supreme Court and certainly not in the federal government to dictate to the states. And so what this opinion will do, I think, not just for the issue of abortion and returning that to the states so that we can have those debates on the state level, but I think it's also going to have the impact of really contemplating the soundness of other opinions that we've seen that were very wrongfully held against the principles of the U.S. Constitution, like, for example, the same-sex marriage decision. So this is going to be a huge turning point in America. And I think not only Justice Alito for this draft opinion, but truly President Trump's greatest legacy is going to be returning the Supreme Court to a conservative majority.
Some have suggested that the present administration and also the leadership in Congress right now, the Democratic leadership in Congress, has contributed to threats of violence, actual violence, and such things as Alito canceling his public appearance. And also, I've heard that he's moved residence, at least temporarily. That kind of stuff is contributed by the fact that the White House has not spoken out strongly enough in favor of what the Supreme Court has done here.
Yeah, and I think that there's some truth to that. I mean, ultimately, people are responsible for their own actions, and for the Democrats that are fomenting this type of violence, of course, is disgusting. It's despicable. The Supreme Court, whether or not we as the people agree with an opinion or not, there is absolutely no room to go and to have these justices threatened in their own home or having any kind of retaliatory efforts against them. So I hope that the White House and the Biden administration will come out strongly against that, and they should, regardless of whether or not they agree with the leaked opinion. That's not the issue here. They should be able to separate their personal opinions on the outcome versus the violence and the threats that are going on at the Supreme Court and against these justices.
Getting back to your opening remarks and where your sense of independence comes from, you have also broken with the Republican Party in defying Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida. You said when he signed legislation dissolving Disney's private government and their special status there, you tweeted, "Hi, Disney. Open offer to help defend your right to constitutionally protected speech against Florida's illegal retaliation." And then in a separate posting, you added, "Policy and law must be fair and reasonable, not vengeful." Why did you do that?
Yes. And so what happened, and it's very important for people to understand the timeline here. Of course, I agreed with and openly supported Florida's parental rights and education bill. Disney came out and made a statement that I personally disagreed with that was opposing that legislation. And because this is a laboratory of democracy in Florida, that legislation passed anyway. That was the win for Florida. But then because Disney chose to speak out against the legislation, after it passed, the state of Florida and Ron DeSantis retaliated against Disney for that statement, and they chose to remove the special district from Disney. That is against the First Amendment. Disney, as a corporation, has the right to express free speech, to oppose legislation that it disagrees with, just like you or me. And so if a Democrat governor had did the same thing and retaliated against a Christian company or a conservative organization that spoke out against, say, an abortion bill in the state of California, I would not support Gavin Newsom retaliating against a corporation for its free exercise of speech or for its liberties and exercising a constitutionally protected right. So we have to make sure, again, that we are not just outcome-based, that we are principled. And so Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida have no power to retaliate against a constitutionally protected right for an individual corporation any more than a Democrat does. So first and foremost, I am a constitutionalist and I am an American before I am a member of any party. And so as President Trump always said, country over party.
And thank you, Jenna. Look forward to having you back again.